to another episode of the SuperCoach Hub BBL podcast. I'm your host, Nathan from SuperCoach Guns, and with me today, I've got possibly the biggest guest of them all. We've got the back-to-back champ, Andrew Langley. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, Nathan. It's pretty early in the morning here, so just waking up on a Sunday morning and looking forward to a new round of Supercoach. I didn't see last night's game, but sounds like it was a bit of fun with the weather.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. I went to that game. You didn't miss much. It was a bit of a bludger for a Big Bash game, but Uh, yeah, no, it was disappointing that it had to finish just an over short of getting a result. But uh,
Yeah,
on to the next game, I suppose.
that's cricket.
Yeah, that's cricket. Before I get into the review of the round, I did do some research as to how you're going this season, and far out, mate. Give us a chance. You're 80th overall.
I've had a couple of lucky calls. Yeah, still got a little bit to go to try and reach the pinnacle. I'll be trying, but yeah, there's plenty of good teams around. They'll be hard to catch.
Yeah, mate. Time and time again,
Yeah,
amazes me. Let's have a look at the round four that was. We'll start out with the Thunder and the Heat. Now, Daniel Sams, he picked up 4 wickets in his final over to finish with figures of 5 for 30 or something. Um, Tell me, I assume you've had a vice captain or a captain on him. Um, he was a very clear captaincy option for this round, wasn't he?
yeah. I couldn't see anyone else sort of taking him on. He's got that perfect role. He's batting in the middle order. He gets a bat most innings, and he gets, I don't know, time and time again, he just gets those bonus wicket or two in the final over. He just he seems when he's on, the points just seem to come.
Yeah, that's right. And I was nervous at the start of the season for him because he was looking slow with the ball in hand. He wasn't really batting all that well, and he wasn't getting many overs. But last few games, he started to come along again.
Yeah, and look,
Um,
I searched high and low to
yep.
see if I could take him on as a captain. Often, when I see a really popular captaincy, like 90% of people with the captain, I try and see has someone got a similar role that everyone's overlooking, and I just couldn't find anyone to take Sam's on. It was sort of we were stuck this week.
Yeah, and it didn't end up being too bad of a thing after all that there was no one else because he finished with 172 for the round, by far and away the most points for anyone on the double. Um, But someone who wasn't on a double was Paul Walter, and he'd been killing it this season, but only managed the 5 points to this game. Uh, should owners be concerned, or was it just a poor game for Tall Paul?
Oh, look, I think the jury's out. He was a bit of a. He's got a really good role. Once again, it's like the Sam's role. Anyone that's coming in at that 5, 6, 7, looking like they're bowling all 4 overs, um, I just think it was one of those games. He's going
Yeah,
to be that super coach. We get volatile scoring. I was one of the suckers, I guess you could call us, that brought him in, but his break even was so low. Um, he was definitely worth a punt, and they've got a double coming up soon. So I think ride the low scores out, the good ones will come.
yeah, it seems fair enough. Like he hasn't really gone that low outside of that game or at all this season. I know he had a 30 round one, but otherwise he's been very good. Um, Tanvi Sanger. Now, outside of his first game, he's averaging 17.75 points this season. Um, one, I guess, do you own him? And two, if you don't, as a hypothetical, would you sell him if you did?
So I do have Tambi Sanger. I bought him in round two, I think. Um, Not one of my smarter trade-ins this year. Just the way with the fixture, I'm sort of done with Thunder players now, so I'm looking to get rid of Tanvi this week. Unfortunately, he's not worth a lot of money, so it restricts who I can turn him into.
Yeah, he really did sort of stagnate at that hot early 100k sort of mark after that first game. But Yeah, good cricketer to watch, but
Yeah,
clearly not all that super coach friendly this season. Uh, Game two, we had the Hurricanes and the Stars playing each other. Glenn Maxwell, he absolutely killed it. Bowled 4 overs, opened the batting. Um, Now I don't think he'll open the batting long term, but gee, he really does. He performed with the ball in hand, and that's something we all wanted to see as super coaches.
yeah. I think that was the big unknown. When was he going to be back bowling? So, for my mind, it's good. Not only did he come back bowling, he bowled all 4 overs. So he's probably the most dangerous man in Supercoach, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but he'll be very clearly my captain going into this Melbourne Stars double.
Yeah, look, he will. I bet against him last Melbourne double just because I didn't think he'd be bowling. But now he's back bowling. I think he's a clear favourite to be captain.
Yeah. Now I don't know how it's not relevant yet, but Corey Anderson, Chris Jordan, they got bat bowl duel. Anderson was batting, got the extra bowling, obviously, and Jordan the opposite was bowling, got the extra bat. They're not too expensive, so I guess in a few rounds' time we have a Hurricanes double coming up. Tell me, do they pique your interest at all? Those two?
I don't know enough about them at this stage, and I haven't looked into them because Hurricane. It's a bit early for me to be looking at the Hurricanes, so I've no doubt when I start going through the Hurricanes with a fine tooth comb, I'll see what they're worth.
Yeah, fair enough. And I suppose Jordan's only really had one good game, and that was when he got 59 off 20. And Corey Anderson hasn't really fired with the bat yet. Yeah, look, I think we'll know more as we get closer, as you say. Um, Bo Webster. Now, he's had a weird old season because obviously had that game where he took 4 wickets and scored 60 runs. But then outside of that, he's averaged less than 10 a game. So, what do you do if you, well, obviously, if you owned Webster, you'd hold him, but if you're a non owner, would you buy him?
Um, it's an interesting one. I think if he's batting three, he's a bit of a must-have. He's not going to bowl every game, and he's not going to. If he does bowl, he might get a couple of overs. Um, but as we saw when he went off the other day, if he does happen to get that early wicket and get more overs, he's very dangerous. He's a bit of the all-round cricketer. He seems to get catches. I don't know if he's had a run out this year, but he seems to be involved in run outs in past years. The points just come from Webster. He's one of my favourites. I've had him all year, and I'd certainly be looking at him, but I could see people a bit worried. He didn't bat the last game, but I think the unusual circumstances of the rain delay caused that. I think we can comfortably say he's going to come in at three for the Stars. So he's got that good role.
Yeah, no, I think I do think he'll definitely be in the top three. I suppose the Stars adding Dan Lawrence in there, it are some questions, but I tend to think Harper's probably the one that moves down the order rather than Bo. Um, so I think Webster should be on the radar, but yeah, there'll be other guys to prioritise, which we might get into a bit later. For the game three we've got here, the Renegades and the Scorchers played. Jake Fraser McGurk, he went nuts again. He's so good to watch.
Oh, he's brilliant to watch. He's the future of Australian cricket, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like with any batsman, you watch every ball with your heart in your mouth because the really good batsmen can go out the very next ball, but geez, when they're on, they're pretty to watch.
Oh yeah, and he's averaging. I think with the bat, he averages 62 and a half at Marvel Stadium this season. So he seems to be a bit of a home ground bully in that regard. And gee, one of my favourite players to watch this season.
Yeah.
Joe Clark went down with a quad injury whilst he was batting. Um, Tell me, do you think Fraser? Who do you think replaces him at the top of the order if he was to miss any time?
Gee, that's a good question. Um, you wonder if Maddo's got to come back into that team. So
Yeah,
he could. he could take that role. I'm not sure. I don't know what the latest on Clark is. Is he cooked for the season or is he
I
going
think
to
they're
play
still
some
assessing him.
games? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if he's cooked for the season. You'd think they just get what's his name, Jordan Cox, who was a replacement for
yeah,
the Renegades earlier on in the season. But
yeah. I could also
I
see
don't think he's
Sean
the
Sean Marsh maybe opening, um,
yeah,
and then they
yep.
could bring Matto in the middle order. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a few directions they can go, isn't there?
yeah, absolutely.
Now, my final point here for this game was, oh, that's have I? Yeah, I've written scorches when I was meant to write strikers on the run sheet. Never mind.
I do that all the time in my team planning.
Because I was going to say I don't remember Jamie Overton playing for Perth, but anyway, um, Jamie Overton, he's dead set. He's in that role that you were talking about earlier, batting the top six and bowling your four overs, but he's doing it better and more consistently than anyone else in the competition. He's on an insane run.
Yeah, and I noticed, I haven't got the figures in front of me, but he's got a ridiculous amount of dot balls too. Like he's obviously very hard to score off, which is great. You know, he can bat, he can
Yeah.
tie a batsman down. That's what you want.
Not to mention the big fellas are always in spots for some catches as well. He's one of
Yeah,
those perfect super coach players, and I'd almost argue that just because of the break even and his double coming up, he might be a more worthwhile purchase than Bo Webster this round. But obviously, you could go a few directions with that, couldn't you?
yeah. I think there's some big calls for people to make this round because the Stars, they're somehow in fourth position, I think, on the ladder, but they haven't looked great. They haven't fired yet. So I could certainly see an argument to start looking ahead and bring in those players with the doubles coming up after this round. So I think it'll make it for an interesting round. I think teams might be a little bit different because there's going to be some different strategies coming in. So I'm looking forward to this round. It could be a bit of a moving round for some.
Yeah, I think it will be. And there's some little value opportunities as you look through the Stars lineup. There's a couple of places where you could look to get ahead, and no, I'm quite excited for this round to happen. Um, Last game of round four, I had the Sixers and the Thunder. Jack Edwards. Now he didn't get to bat, but he's in Tom Curran's role, and he's performed the last two games. He seems to be the one that got away though. He's around 140,000, and he's got his bat bowl dual position. Were you lucky enough to be on Jack Edwards, or has he slipped away for you too?
No, I am lucky or unlucky enough. I haven't had a sixer in my team all year, so I I do that. A lot of people. That's when people look at me and think I'm mad. Just the way the schedule was this year, they didn't attract me, so I haven't. I virtually haven't looked at a sixer. I knew Jack Edwards was there, but I didn't look deeply into him because they're just not in my radar. I'm looking at the other teams. So, and this is what happens. You in Supercoach, it means you miss players and you miss really good players, but you've just got to find the good alternative. I didn't have Edwards in my team, but I had Fraser McGurk this week, so it swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know how popular he was as. I don't know how popular his ownership was, but no, it's been good to see him come along because he's had a lot of promise for a while for the Sixers. Now Cam Bancroft, he was one of the better Thunder targets on the double, but he had a 46 in the first game with no strike rate bonus and only six in this second game here. He got his dual position, but do you reckon it's time to sell now that he's had his double?
Um, Possibly, but a wicket keeper that's opening is a good role. Just the nature of a batsman or a bat only player, there's going to be low scores tied in with big scores. I can see. I don't have Bancroft, and I won't chase him. I don't. Now that the double's gone, but if I did have him, I could see an argument for both keeping him and selling him. I think it's a line ball decision, depending on the makeup of someone's team.
Yeah, fair enough. And I suppose there's a few ways of looking at it with him, isn't there? Because you've got quite a bit of money in him, so you could use that to aid your trades this week. But also wicket-keeper position where there's not actually been that many good scores, he's not a bad option just to have sit there for the season.
Yeah, yeah, and it's handy to have a few wicket keepers in your team just to be able to loop them around with each other, depending how they go. It is a
Yeah,
volatile scoring position, so you just sometimes we cop big hits in the keeper position, sometimes we get some big wins. So and it is what it is.
yeah, that's right. And final point here is that uh, Daniel Sams can bat sensibly. Now, I've never seen him face more than 20 balls at a strike rate of 120, but he did that last night. And, well, whilst super coaches might have preferred him to go a bit faster, the Thunder really did need him just to hold back a bit. And, well, I've never seen him do that before. That's pretty much all that point was.
And I must admit, when I saw the scorecard this morning, so I didn't see the game last night, I was out. I was surprised to see, what was it, 30 runs off about 25 balls or so. But I did notice he came in, they'd lost some early wickets, so he kind of had to play a different
Yeah, I
role,
just
and it
didn't
was
think
good to see he could do it.
yeah, I just didn't think he had the self control to do it. But hey, full credit to him, hey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, we'll go into the top five trade targets for this round. Um, can you quickly run through for me your top five?
Yeah, so there's a few. I'm sort of keeping my focus on Brisbane, Adelaide, and Perth. Just they've got doubles coming up. I've got a number of stars in my team, so that's sort of where my focus is at. Um, I really like McSweeney. Um, I don't like the weather forecast for Monday for Brisbane, which makes it a bit tougher. So I certainly have McSweeney in my sights. I'm umming and ahhing on Darcy Short. He's got that role opening, but he is bat only. But he's got a ridiculous break even to get him in before he's double. It could be a good cheap play. Then you could just rattle off the Perth team basically. Um, there's a number
Yeah,
of them I'm looking at, but it's trying to look at value. So if you look at the bowlers, they're all so expensive, but Ty probably looks the best value of the quicks in that team to me. So he'd probably lead the way. Inglis as a wicket keeper, I've got to do something about Harper after this week, probably like a lot of people. So Inglis is certainly in my sights. Um, I'm having a bit of trouble with cash generation this year, probably like a lot of people. My team value isn't going up as much as I'd like. So I'm actually looking at someone like Agar this week as well. Um, he's cheap, he's dual position. I can move him around if I need to play a loop this week. So I'm sort of having a bit of a serious look at him as well. So um, yeah, if I had to list them, it'd probably be McSweeney, Short, Darcy Short, Ty Inglis, and Agar are my front runners for this week.
yeah, fair enough. There's some good names on there, and very much tilted towards the next two or three rounds. Um, yeah, look, from my perspective here, I've got Jamie Overton as my number one, just because that break even is enormous, and he plays a double next week, and he's scoring so well already right now. It's killed me not owning him the last couple of rounds, and I wanted to fix that this week. So yeah, I think he's my number one trade in target. Number two, I sort of look at, again, the Perth Scorchers, as you say, and a guy like Andrew Ty or even a Lance Morris if he's named both games, because Lance isn't highly owned and he's had a okay start to the season, and I think a lot of people will overlook him because of the price, but I think he has a wicket taking ceiling that will match some of the other Perth quicks as well. Um, who's my third? I've got here. I put in Imad Wazim. Um, I think he's a safe. He's sort of a guy that I reckon will score 50 in both games. He's not much fuss, but I think he's a safe 100 points over this double. But if you're desperate for numbers, that's probably where I'd look. But yeah, I don't know. He's not a thrilling option. I will say that. Bo Webster. I put at number 4 only really because of the break even. Like it's 182, and when we're, as you say, when we're struggling for cash gen, can I afford to take a 20k hit on him if he only scores, say, 100 points in the double? Possibly not, but he might just have to come in anyway because of well, his potential role that we outlined earlier. And then finally, I sold Aaron Hardy last round just to help balance out my team a little bit. And I think he's going to be probably the number one scorcher in their team to own. So I'm going to have to go get him again. And I'm hoping that I can use. Who can I use? Daniel Sams as a stepping stone to him next round, to be honest. I would like to throw in Laurie Evans from the Scorchers. His role isn't great, but he's 66k, and on the you've got back-to-back doubles in round 6 and round 7. I think there's some late season cash gen to be made with him. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think Perth's going to be an interesting one because they've got those back-to-back doubles, and they've got a lot of really good players. And none of us, I'd be surprised if anyone can afford all those big priced players. We're all going to make
Mm.
little compromise positions, and it's going to be interesting because people are going to want a number of Perth players, but I think there's going to be quite a few different combinations out there. And people will be looking at Evans. You mentioned Morris before. You know, when you've got Berendorf up over 200k, people are going to look for a cheaper version there, but someone will take Berendorf, and they all
Yeah,
score well. They all score well, so it's almost like you. It'll come to when you bring them in. Um, you know, what are their break evens? What are their prices? You want to try and get them with a bit of value. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
oh yeah, and yeah, as you said earlier, it'll really spread out. Um, who the teams as a whole,
Yeah.
really.
And both those doubles for the Perth team, there are other teams on the double as well, both those rounds. So there's also potential to take Perth on. People might,
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what, I'm going to go low on Perth and look at the other team. So um, yeah, I'm
Mm.
looking.
And
I said I was looking forward to this round, but I think those next couple of rounds as well could see a lot of variance in teams.
and you've got the Scorchers and the Strikers playing twice against each other in round 6 as well. So that sort of caps the scoring potential of everyone as a whole.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
and I always take that into account too. So that's one reason I haven't lined. I lined up to have 11 doubles when the Stars and Renegades were playing their doubles because they weren't playing each other this round. When they because the Strikers and the Scorchers are playing each other, I'm only going to look at significantly less than 11 doubles. So see how it
Yeah,
goes.
fair enough.
Mm.
Yeah. The final thing I have here is just quickly going over your initial trades for this week. Andrew, what do you got for us?
Um, so I've got Murr in my team, so I need to move him on. I was saying McSweeney earlier. I really like McSweeney. I don't like the weather forecast. I may end up going for Wasm, just swapping him over for another star. So I've got 5 stars playing this round. Um, Tanvi Sanger, he will go from my team. I've got to look at cheap options there, and that's where someone like Darcy Short might become an option to bring in with his cheap break even. And then I've got to decide I'm going to have to trade one of Kane Richardson, Fraser McGurk, or Hales. Um, one of those three are going to have to go out of my team. I don't know which one yet. And that's where I'll look at Agar or Inglis to come in to replace them. And the other one that's sort of sitting there in the back of my mind is Clark, because I don't know what's going on with his injury. Even if he's out for the season, I wouldn't mind knowing because I quite like the Renegades draw for looping. They play last, I think, most rounds, bar one. So he could be handy just to keeping my team to be able to play loops in the wicket keeper position. But we'll see. If it's a bit uncertain, I may trade Clark.
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, Clark's an interesting one. I think it'll bring. I was hoping it would bring opportunity for Fraser McGurk to open. It might not. But yeah, as you say, that looping schedule that the Renegades have it's pretty good. So it could still be a worthwhile hold. Not too expensive either.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'd be quite if I know for certain what's going on with him, I'd be quite happy to hold him and as my loop player because I haven't got one at the moment, and they're handy as you come towards the end of the season.
Yeah, fair enough. Now for me, I've taken out. I'm going to try and remember this because my phone's flat. But I've taken out. um, this is not good at all. I've already forgotten the first one. Anyway, I've brought in. Um, I think I sold Adam Zampa for Marcus Stoinis. I wasn't thrilled about that, but I saw he was like 83,000, and I thought, well, he could bowl some. He could bowl the other half of the 4 overs he shares with Webster, um, and his cheapest chips. It might not a bad low value option, or value option I should say as a whole. I brought in Jamie Overton. I'm pretty sure I sold Tom Rogers from the Renegades. I had him for that Renegades double. He did well. He did his job. And then had a pretty ordinary game. And the Renegades um, don't have a double again. I don't believe. And so their schedule sort of dries out a little bit. So I was really keen to move him on. And then I think the final trade it would have been Imad Wazim in for. Um, oh, yeah, I was an idiot and brought in Nathan McAndrew. That's what it was. Um, I thought that there might be something there, underappreciated bowler, double game, could pick up some death wickets, but, he only bowled 2 overs, 3 overs the whole double. So that went really well for me. But yeah, that leaves me with a little bit of coin. And I'm in a relatively good position for next round's double. I've got maybe 4 players for it already. I could get to 7. I don't think I want any more, considering they play each other. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's panned out in the end.
So you're boosting this round, is that right? Did I count that right?
No, just the
No.
3 trades.
All right.
Yeah. Um, I've was again foolish and burnt my boosts early because I couldn't help myself. And also, I started pretty poor. So I
Yeah.
tried to get ahead, and it actually did the opposite. I went further back. So
Yeah,
there
I'm
you go.
fortunate I haven't used either of them yet, and I'm still trying to work out when I use them. Um,
Yeah, they're a bit overrated, I must say. But
yeah, look, and often what happens is I've found, and I've done it, we all do it, is a player comes out and has, like Fraser McGurk, comes out, looks really good. Everyone brings him in for his double, what, and he got two from the 2 games. Bat only players are so volatile. So as soon as we see this big score, we think we must have them. So we'll waste the boost bringing them in when probably it wasn't the smart play. It was, you know, go with the 3, hold on to your boost.
I think you might have read my mind a bit too much there, Andrew. Anyway, we'll call it a day there. Thank you for coming on today, Andrew. And make sure you're following us all on the Supercoach Hub, on YouTube and on Spotify. And obviously, you can reach us on the socials if you want to be on the Discord server. The link's in the bio across all our social media. And if you want to follow Supercoach Guns, it's just Supercoach Guns on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. And then supercoach.bbl.guns on Instagram. Andrew, thanks for your time, mate, and all the best with the rest of the season.
Thanks, Nathan. Good luck to you too.
Yeah, cheers.